The story begins in 1950, inside a car factory where several cars were being assembled. Among them was a special red car that a mechanic was working on. While he was checking the engine, suddenly the hood slammed shut on its own, badly injuring his hand. He was rushed to the doctor immediately. Later, another mechanic came to check the car. While he was inside, the ash from his cigar fell onto the seat. Hours passed, and the factory work ended for the day. Everyone left for home. But as the supervisor was leaving, he noticed that the red car's lights were still on. As soon as he opened the car, the dead body of the cigar-smoking mechanic fell out. Now, 28 years have passed since that incident. We see a student named Dennis, who drives to the house of another boy named Arnie. Arnie was a typical straight-laced, nerdy kid. Dennis and Arnie were complete opposites, but they soon became close friends. Today was their first day of school. At school, when they took out their new books from their lockers, their eyes fell upon a new girl named Lee, whose beauty made every boy in school go crazy. Later, when Dennis and Arnie were returning home, Arnie suddenly spotted a car outside a house and asked Dennis to stop. When they went closer, they saw it was a red classic car, the same car from the factory at the beginning of the story. But now, it was in terrible, broken-down condition. Still, Arnie didn't care. He fell in love with the car instantly. Just then, the owner, George, showed up and said the car's name was Christine. It had belonged to his brother, who had died just a few weeks earlier. George wanted to get rid of the car as soon as possible, so he was ready to sell it for only $50. Dennis advised Arnie not to waste money on such a wreck and to buy a different car instead. But without a second thought, Arnie bought the car right then and there. That evening, when Arnie returned home, his parents scolded him badly after hearing about the purchase. But Arnie didn't listen. He had bought the car with his own savings. Still, his mother insisted that the car would not stay at their house. So Arnie took the car to a garage with Dennis. There, they met the garage owner, Will, an ill-tempered old man. Even so, he allowed Arnie to keep the car there. On the way back, Dennis asked Arnie why he bought such a worthless junk car. Arnie replied that he didn't choose the car chose him. The next day, while Dennis was waiting for Arnie at lunch, he went looking for him when he didn't show up. He found that a bully named Buddy was harassing Arnie. When Dennis tried to intervene, Buddy threw Arnie's lunch on the ground and pushed him onto it. Arnie's glasses fell off, and Buddy stomped on them, breaking them to pieces. Buddy then laughed at Arnie's helpless state. But Dennis took the chance to attack Buddy. Immediately, Buddy's gang surrounded Dennis. Luckily, a teacher arrived and broke up the fight. Arnie told the teacher that Buddy had threatened him with a knife. When the teacher ordered Buddy to empty his pockets, the knife was found. As a result, Buddy and his gang were sent to the office, and Buddy was expelled from school. Weeks went by. Arnie spent all his time repairing the car, working day and night. Eventually, the garage owner gave him a job to help around, and in return, Arnie could collect parts for his car. Arnie gladly accepted and threw himself into fixing Christine. But he didn't realize how deeply attached he was becoming to the car. One evening, Dennis went to meet Arnie since they hadn't hung out in a while. But he saw that Arnie had completely changed. He no longer wore glasses, dressed stylishly, and walked with the swagger of a tough guy. He barely spoke to Dennis, and went straight to work at the garage. When his mother tried to stop him, Arnie ignored her. She then told Dennis that she was very worried about Arnie and his car. She had found out that the car's previous owner had died inside it from suffocation. Hearing this, Dennis went to see George. George told him the story of his brother. When his brother bought Christine, he became completely obsessed with it. His wife and daughter both died inside the car. Later, his brother too died. After his death, the car somehow returned to the garage by itself. One day, Dennis went to check the car himself. As soon as he tried to open it, the radio switched on by itself. Terrified, Dennis ran away. The next morning, Dennis was at the school stadium for their football match. He was focused on scoring an important goal when suddenly he saw Arnie arriving. Christine now looked brand new, completely restored. Buddy and his friends were shocked to see it. Just then, Lee stepped out of the car and kissed Arnie in front of everyone. Seeing this, Dennis felt jealous and lost focus on the game. Taking advantage of the distraction, the opposing players shoved him, grabbed the ball, and knocked him to the ground so hard that he immediately lost consciousness and suffered a serious injury. Several days later, Dennis woke up in the hospital with a cast on his leg and neck. Arnie came to visit him, and Dennis realized just how much his friend had changed. Just a month ago, Arnie was a timid boy who obeyed his parents' every word. Now he was completely different. Arnie quickly said goodbye and left. That evening, Arnie went to the movies with Lee. Later, the two of them started making out inside the car. But when things went too far, Lee suddenly got out of the car and walked away. Arnie followed her outside, but Lee told him, "You love this car more than you love me." Her words sounded very strange to Arnie, but he somehow convinced her to get back into the car. Just then, the windshield suddenly malfunctioned, so Arnie stepped out to take a look. Inside, Lee had just started eating something when the car's radio suddenly turned on by itself. At the same moment, a bright light flashed from the dashboard, and Lee felt like she was choking. She couldn't breathe. Arnie immediately rushed to help her, but the car had locked itself from the inside. Helpless, Arnie kept trying to open it from outside, but nothing worked. Meanwhile, Lee was about to die from suffocation when, at the very last moment, she managed to unlock the door from inside. Just then, a man standing nearby pulled her out in time. Seeing this, Arnie angrily attacked him, but the man was only trying to clear the food stuck in Lee's throat. Eventually, things calmed down, and Arnie dropped Lee back home. As soon as she got out, she stormed into her house and said she never wanted to talk to him again. Arnie tried to apologize, but Lee was convinced that the car had tried to kill her. In fact, she believed that Christine was jealous of her, because whenever she was in the car, something bad always happened. Hearing this, Arnie thought Lee was overreacting and told her they would talk tomorrow. When he got back into the car, it wouldn't start. So Arnie spoke to Christine, saying that what happened with Lee didn't matter. He would always love Christine just the same. After that, when he turned the key, the car immediately started. He drove straight to the garage, left the car there, and went home. But soon after, Buddy and his gang broke into the garage with various weapons and completely destroyed the car. The next day, Arnie somehow convinced Lee to come with him to the garage so he could retrieve his wallet from the car. But when they entered and saw Christine wrecked beyond recognition, Arnie was devastated. Shocked, Lee asked who had done it. Instead of answering, Arnie suddenly yelled at her and told her to leave. Later, when Arnie told his parents about the incident, they tried to calm him by saying they would buy him a new car. But this only made him angrier, because he knew his parents, like Lee, hated Christine. He even blamed them for her condition, saying if they had let him keep the car at home, she would have been safe. He then stormed off to his room. When his father grabbed him from behind and told him to apologize to his mother, Arnie lashed out even more. Finally, his father slapped him, but Arnie fought back and quietly left the house. He went straight to Christine and decided to repair her piece by piece. But what he saw next left him stunned. The car was fixing itself, as if by magic. Overjoyed, Arnie asked the car what else it could do. Within moments, Christine fully restored herself to her original condition. Later that night, we see a thug named Moochie, one of Buddy's gang. He was robbing a truck in the middle of the road when he heard the sound of an approaching engine. When he looked closer, he saw Christine, brand new, standing before him. Realizing Arnie must be inside, Moochie panicked. He knew Arnie had discovered he was one of the people who destroyed Christine. Moochie begged for forgiveness, but suddenly the headlights flashed, and the car charged straight at him. Moochie ran for his life and hid in an alley, thinking the car would give up. But soon Christine returned, chasing him again. Moochie then ran into an old warehouse, but the car followed him relentlessly. Finally, Moochie was cornered, with nowhere left to escape. He pulled out a knife and threatened Arnie, but Christine forced her way inside and crushed him brutally. The next morning, Arnie visited Dennis and told him about Moochie's death. Dennis was shocked. He couldn't understand how the car, after being completely wrecked, had restored itself. But Arnie gave no answers and silently walked away. Soon after, Detective Junkins came to meet Arnie. He assured him that he was investigating the thugs who had attacked Christine and that Moochie's murder case was also under his charge. Arnie said he knew nothing about Moochie's death but admitted he was glad to hear the news. This made the detective suspicious. He then told Arnie that his girlfriend had testified that the car had repaired itself despite being destroyed. Without a word, Arnie left. Later, Arnie called Lee and asked to meet, but she refused. This made him even angrier. Meanwhile, Lee and her friend Dawn were driving with some alcohol when another car started following them. Buddy pulled over to see who it was, but the headlights were too bright to recognize anything. When he reversed his car, the other car reversed the same way. That's when it was revealed, it was Christine. Enraged, Buddy sped off and stopped only at a gas station where his friend Richie worked. He grabbed a metal rod, preparing to teach the stalker a lesson. But just then, Christine came speeding at full force and rammed directly into Buddy's car, causing massive damage. Buddy thought Arnie was inside the car, so he yelled at him to come out. But once again, Christine rammed into Buddy's car at full speed, smashing it straight into the workshop. Don was still sitting inside, and Christine crushed him along with Buddy's car. At that moment, gasoline began leaking from Buddy's car, and suddenly it caught fire. Within seconds, the entire garage exploded, and Richie was burned alive in the blast. Buddy tried to save himself and ran, but Christine, engulfed in flames, kept chasing him. Eventually, she ran him down too, burning him to ashes. Some time later, Will, the garage owner, heard the sound of a car approaching. When he looked, he saw Christine, still covered in smoke. He was shocked, because Arnie had gone to fix another car. Curious, he grabbed his gun and went to see who was inside. He tried opening the car door, but it was scorching hot, so he used a cloth to pull it open. To his surprise, the car was completely empty. Confused, Will sat inside the car himself. But that mistake cost him his life, because Christine wasn't going to leave any witnesses alive. Suddenly, the doors locked, the seat crushed forward into the dashboard, and Will was brutally killed. The next morning, when Arnie arrived at the garage, he saw multiple police cars there. Detective Junkins informed him that the body of Will, the garage owner, had been found inside Christine. Arnie said he didn't know how any of this happened, but deep down, he knew Christine was responsible, especially since she was once again shining spotless in her place. Meanwhile, Dennis had returned home from the hospital when Lee called him. She said she wanted to meet. Lee told him she believed Christine had possessed Arnie's mind, making him obsessed and driving him into madness. Dennis replied that he knew Arnie could never willingly do anything wrong, but if Christine had taken control of him, then the car needed to be destroyed. After this, Lee returned home. But soon Arnie showed up in Christine. He asked Dennis to go for a drive, and Dennis reluctantly came down. Once again, Arnie was acting strangely. Suddenly, he began driving at an insane speed and even let go of the steering wheel. Horrified, Dennis said that Christine wasn't under his control. But Arnie replied bizarrely, saying that nothing could ever come between him and Christine. To prove his point, he swerved the car into the opposite lane at full speed, narrowly avoiding a head-on collision with an oncoming vehicle. Seeing his best friend on the edge of madness, Dennis grew deeply worried. The next day, Dennis left a note on Christine's bonnet, asking Arnie to meet him at the garage in the evening. That night, Dennis and Lee waited for him inside the workshop. When Arnie didn't show up, they brought in an excavator and positioned it inside. Their plan was simple. Lee would stay in the office and lock the gate when Arnie entered, while Dennis would use the bulldozer to destroy Christine. But what they didn't know was that Christine was already hiding among the junk inside the workshop. Suddenly, the car switched on its headlights and charged toward Lee to crush her. She barely managed to save herself by grabbing onto a hanging tire. But Christine wasn't done, she turned back to attack again. Just then, Dennis drove the excavator forward, blocking her path and protecting Lee. Christine pulled back and went to the far end of the workshop, while Dennis maneuvered the excavator in the opposite direction. Now the two machines stood face to face. That's when it was revealed that Arnie was indeed inside, helping Christine. He was now completely under her control. Suddenly, Christine flashed her headlights and, within seconds, restored herself completely. Even worse, the excavator suddenly shut down, and Dennis struggled to restart it. Meanwhile, Christine charged toward the office to kill Lee once and for all. She smashed through everything, but the violent collision threw Arnie straight through the windshield. Lee rushed forward to check on him, but Arnie suddenly jerked up, scaring her. Unfortunately, a large shard of windshield glass had pierced deep into his body. In his final moments, Arnie tried to reach out and touch his beloved car one last time, but he succumbed to his injuries and died right in front of Christine. Lee immediately ran for her life, but Christine wasn't done yet. She quickly shifted into reverse and tried to crush her. At the last second, Lee escaped, and the car rammed into a pillar, getting stuck. Dennis seized the moment, restarted the excavator, and slammed it hard into Christine. But even then, the demonic car kept fighting back. Christine lunged at Lee again, but Dennis grabbed her from behind with the excavator's claw and crushed her. This brutal attack weakened the car, but Christine still wasn't finished. She started repairing herself again. Determined to end the nightmare once and for all, Dennis powered up the bulldozer and relentlessly smashed Christine until she was completely destroyed. She struggled to survive, but this time she was crushed beyond repair. The battle was finally over. The next day, Dennis and Lee met Detective Junkins at a junkyard. There, they saw Christine, reduced to a mangled pile of scrap. Relieved, the three of them walked away. But just then, we saw a small piece of Christine move on its own, proving that the evil car was still alive. What's your dream car? Let me know in the comments below. See you in the next video.